Are you ready to learn from a fellow owner in the trades? What's up, blue collar business owner? Welcome back to the Blue Collar Prosperity Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Maska, where we focus on helping guide you to have a prosperous business. Today, we have with us Chris Mazzini. He is the owner of Aspinwall Plumbing and Heating, located in Weymouth, Mass. It's a family company that's been serving the South Shore for over 50 years. So that is short and sweet. That's Chris Mazzini. Welcome, Chris. Thank you so much for being here. What's going on today?
Hey, Paul. Good morning. How you doing? Thank you for having me anyway. And so,
for sure. Super excited about this. Whenever we get the opportunity to interview other owners, I know our listeners love it because sometimes as owners, it feels like we could be sitting on an island and nobody else knows what we're going through and the struggles and the wins and all the things that go with running a home service company. So excited for this conversation to learn more about you and your journey and where you guys are today. Before we jump into that, though, just give our listeners, kind of insight into how you got started in the trades.
Sure. So we are a family business. Like you said, we've been doing it for over 50 years. And we started just by growing up in the trades. My father started the business back in 1972. We were in Brookline in Massachusetts. We used to go there. Me and my brother used to go there with him on weekends, get in the way, annoy him, all that kind of stuff. That was when we were real young, right? As we grew up, we would work in the summers and we'd help them out on job sites and just be working with them, doing whatever we could, which was probably more just a pair of hands, right? Get this, get that kind of stuff. But kind of got to see what it was like being on a job site at a young age, which was interesting and different and all kinds of things. So we did that as we were younger. And then as we grew older, right, my brother's a little bit older than me. He graduated high school. He came on full time, started working with my father, and he was primarily doing service work. So he'd be in a van out doing calls, going to people's houses, fixing all kinds of plumbing things. I came on a little bit later and started working in the family business about 25 years ago and kind of expanding our company from plumbing into more HVAC. So that's kind of what I helped grow that side of things and continue on with the plumbing. And so just family all around us all the time. Me, my brother, my father. My brother's Mike. My father is Lou. And he recently, I'd say about 3 years ago, retired. And now it's me and my brother. My brother's transitioned from service work into more fireplaces. So we do fireplace installs. We do fireplace service. So it's just like another added wing of our company. And so that's
super
where
cool.
We are today.
So you got plumbing, you got heating, you got air, you got fireplaces. What kind of brought you into the business 20, 25 years ago? What were you doing before? What kind of brought you back into working with the family?
Sure. So great question. My background is in mechanical engineering. So I went to school for engineering. Graduated, went here locally in Boston, graduated, worked in Boston at some big engineering firms, doing design work, learning all about, commercial HVAC systems, doing a lot of AutoCAD, kind of the different side of the business, right? Sort of the before you're building it, right? Pre-construction, doing all the work up front, knowing projects were coming years before anyone else really did, which was exciting, right? But it was just, you're just in a cubicle all day, right? So I just kind of riding that. Same thing, go to the same office every day. Every once in a while, you have to go out onto a job site. But you was just stuck in the cube, staring at the computer all day long. And to be honest, one day my father just asked me kind of like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing that, right? So I kind of just thought about it, and it was right before I had my first child. My oldest daughter is 20 now, and it was right before she was born. Me and my wife kind of talked about it and decided, hey, yeah, let's. I'm going to give this a try. And jumped on board with them, and so that's kind of where I came in, right? And it wasn't an immediate impact. It was kind of more of a, how does this work? Like, wow, this is a disaster. Wow, this is how things get done. How do we change things? So it was a lot of that stuff, obviously, from the beginning, right? Most tradespeople don't have an extensive knowledge of computers and technology, right? They just want to work with the tools and fix things, which is great. So I kind of brought the other side of it, like, hey, we should probably introduce some technology, get away from the handwritten calendars we're using and crossing names off a list as jobs get done, and brought in more technology, I guess, and introduced Service Titan, and we got into that. And so my background kind of helped us, I guess, bring the company a little bit more forward into the 20th century, right? While we still remained who we were. We still do service calls. We still show up to your house. We still answer the phones. And so just kind of helped with that, helped grow the business that way.
Awesome. So, well, I can definitely I definitely can relate to that cubicle life. That was my previous life as well. After growing up around the trades, my dad was in the trades. Sat in a cubicle for 3 or 4 years, working for big banks, and realized there's more to life than this. This is miserable. I don't want to do this for another 40 years. So definitely can relate to that. So as you got kind of involved, bringing on technology, what were some of the biggest struggles that you encountered just kind of getting the company up and running? Because I know a lot of our listeners kind of run into that too. Like, oh, well, we've always done it this way. We've always done it this way. And then before we know it, we're left way far behind. And all of a sudden, it's a battle that we might not be able to win. So what were some of the biggest struggles that you encountered that you had to overcome, other than just, implementing Service Titan alone is a massive endeavor, but what were some of the other biggest struggles you had?
So that's the worst saying in the trades is, well, I've always done it that way. I've heard that my whole life, right? Why do you put that pump in? I don't know. I've always done it that way. Okay. So the biggest struggle was deciding which program to pick, right? I knew we couldn't survive moving forward working off of a 3-ring binder with people's names on it with the date at the top. Because we would look at it and kind of say, all right, here's the 6 calls we got to do today. But somebody just called in this morning, so we have to cross one of these off the list. No call to a customer, right? We just wouldn't show up. You'd wait for the customer to call us. They'd be all angry about everything. So it was deciding how we're going to transition from that onto these computers. So we went through a few different programs, and some of them started off very basic, right? It was just a calendar. And basically, what are we doing today? Let's try to use that. So we remember where we went yesterday so we can send a bill to them too. So we cycled through probably 3 programs before we stumbled upon Service Titan. The big thing with Service Titan, obviously, is the cost of it, right? It does so much stuff, but it's very expensive. And I'd like to tell Service Titan that every chance I get, because it does get a little pricey for somebody that's just running a couple people, a couple person shop. Once we finally made the commitment, I love the program. I think it's great. We had to implement working off of tablets, right? So all of our plumbers, all our technicians had to go from printing up paper slips to now here's an iPad, learn how to push the buttons, learn how to look at your service call, learn how to look at the directions of where you're going, and make notes inside of that pad so that all right, this is what I did on that job, right? So that was definitely a challenge, right? Nobody wanted to move on off of the papers because it was easy. You just kind of came in the morning, you got handed 4 slips, and you just went about and did your day. You kind of made your notes on it and you were done. With the Service Titan, it became, all right, well, when you're on the job, make the notes, make sure you make a bill while you're there, and try to collect money. So it was just a huge change for everybody. So that was a challenge. Some people, obviously younger technicians, are better at it. Some of the older technicians, it was a little bit of a struggle. They get it, but just trying to do it on a day-to-day basis to this day is still kind of a struggle. So we work around a few of them, try to help them out, make them feel better that they can't use the technology. And it works. And it works for us. And so that was definitely the biggest thing. Just kind of getting everyone on board, making sure everybody knew this was for the better, which, most people did. And so.
Yeah, that's it. That brings up an interesting point, because I'm sure other than Service Titan, you've had to get people to buy into additional changes. Hey, we're going to roll out this. Hey, we're going to start doing these things this way. What have you found works well to get the buy-in, to get the guys to realize, okay, this is going to make my life better. It's going to make the customer's life better. Maybe it'll make me more money. It's going to make it a better place to work, give me more opportunity, whatever it is. What are some of the things you found? Like, how do you approach change when you and your leadership team come to a conclusion of like, okay, this is what we're going to do? Then we got to go tell everybody else that's actually going to have to do it. How do you kind of navigate that?
So that's evolved over time. So I find explaining the why helps get the buy-in. And you're not going to get it from everybody, but our meetings are structured as, this is why we're doing this. This is going to be better because of that. We try to have meetings where we tell them, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it. We like to get feedback from our technicians. We don't get a lot, right? Not everybody's going to chime in and tell you what they think. But occasionally, as you keep saying it and keep bringing things up to technicians, they may come in one at a time, two at a time, and kind of say, hey, you know what I was thinking? And they start to believe in it a little bit more. We're always telling them this is going to make your life easier. It's going to make our life easier. But if they don't know why they're doing it, they may not bother with it. So it's not one day that everyone just starts drinking the magic potion and, you got 30 believers, right? It's just a constant effort of, hey, don't forget, you got to do this because of this. So I don't know if we'd ever reach the point where it's just, hey, wow, everything's running smooth today. Look at that. So we just remind everybody of a lot of the same things over and over again. Try to be repetitious in our meetings, which definitely gets boring. We try to change things up every now and again. But the whole premise is, this is why we're doing it. You guys got to kind of buy into it, and let's all make this better together.
Yeah, and I love the thought process behind, being open to feedback and encouraging them to give feedback, even if it's, hey, just come into my office if you're not comfortable saying in front of everybody. When we can start to build that culture that you have a voice here, we want your opinion, you're going to be the end user, whatever it might be, they still know the why, but then they at least feel like they have a part of making it even better. Because as you mentioned earlier, I feel for so long, especially in the trades, a lot of things we do is just because, at least based on our thought process of, well, Chris told me to do it that way. Why did Chris always do it that way? I don't know. That's just the way he did it. And then Chris learned it from Lou, and Lou always did it that way. But if we don't know the why behind it, it's just like, it gets frustrating that we might have a better way, but our leader might not be open to feedback. And I don't know why we do it this way in the first place. So that's a really good topic of conversation. So yeah. One of the things I'm curious on and kind of get your feedback on, going into multiple trades, you mentioned originally you guys were just plumbing, and then you kind of spearheaded, let's bring on HVAC, and now you've got fireplaces. What would you tell somebody listening to this that's thinking that? Because a lot of times that's the thought process of, well, the best way to grow now is we got this database. Let's offer them other things besides plumbing. Let's offer them HVAC. Let's offer them fireplace stuff. What do you tell the listeners that are thinking about going through that process based on your experience?
It's definitely worth doing, but it's a little challenging, right? So we introduced air conditioning to our top plumbers when we first got into it. So we would do projects. I don't know if you ever heard of Space Pack, but we started doing Space Pack, where it's not a lot of, it's duct work, but it's not sheet metal duct work. So we started introducing our plumbers into that part of projects, part of the job, where we'd go into somebody's house and our good plumbers, they knew how to work with tools, would start doing HVAC work. Some of these guys are very talented. No matter what tools you hand them, they have the mentality of like, I'm going to get this done, and I'm going to get this done right, and I'm going to get it done clean, which is nice. That's how we started to get into the HVAC side of things. As we kind of grew a little bit, we had an opportunity to take over a company, which was HVAC, which immediately increased our HVAC work, because we took over the company and we took on, I think it was 5 employees at the time. And we had their whole database of customers, and that sort of immediately took off. I would say as of today, none of them actually still work for us today. A couple of them started their own companies, and some of them just moved to different parts of the country. But we hired employees that worked under them and kind of learned what that side of the business was like. The HVAC is definitely, for us, it's a little bit of a challenge because we bring people in, we grow the department a little bit, and then we kind of weed out a few people. It kind of comes back down in size, and then it increases again. I would say it's definitely worth doing. It may be better to find a smaller company that's for sale and maybe take it over, or maybe partner up with a company to kind of start getting into it. That may not be the best idea, but somehow start dipping your toes into it and get slowly into it. That way there you can kind of start growing that side of the business. You can start, whatever you do for marketing, emailing and texting, whatever you do, start reaching out to your existing customers and say, hey, we do this type of work. Which oddly enough, we do that, and we still have customers that say to us, oh, I didn't know you did HVAC. Some customers even say, oh, I didn't know you did plumbing. And I mean, it's still interesting to me. On the fireplace side of stuff, that was a little bit different. We had a company approach us and say, hey, would you guys be interested in having a storefront and selling fireplace products, right? So now you'd come to our showroom. We'd have all kinds of fireplaces laid out, and people would come in and buy them. And then just by default, we had to figure out, hey, we got to install these things, right? And putting the box together, the fireplace box, isn't bad, and the plumbing side of it kind of fit because it's gas piping, it's venting, which is all owned by plumbing in Massachusetts. So it's kind of a natural fit. So we kind of just expanded on that. Kind of, again, made the showroom bigger, made it smaller, kind of took out products that really weren't moving, and kind of just narrowed it down to where it is today, where people can come into a store, buy a fireplace, we install it, but then we also service it, right? So we can service your fireplace. So our marketing just became to all of our customers like, hey, this is everything we do. So it's a I don't know. To me, I like it. It's a nice way to kind of add services, obviously, to customers. We're toying with the idea of electrical work, but I don't know if we're going to do that. And I feel like we're going to hold off on that one for now. So,
yeah, it's funny you mentioned that you still have customers today. So I didn't know you do plumbing. I thought you just did HVAC, or I didn't know you did this. I just thought you did that. And I have that conversation a lot with our clients too when we're talking about revenue and marketing and staying top of mind. A lot of times, whatever your customers called you for, they assume that's all you do.
Yeah.
So being able to remind them through email newsletters and text messages of, hey, we do offer these other services, because if they don't know you offer them, they're probably calling somebody else when they need plumbing, if they don't know you do plumbing, or they need HVAC when they don't know you do that. So definitely a good takeaway there for the listeners out there to remind your customers, one, that you exist, and two, what you actually do, and they will be grateful for it. So where are you guys at today? How big is your company? What's the structure look like?
So in sales, we do about $7.5 million a year. Structure is, we have me and my brother as the owner. We have plumbing manager, HVAC manager. We have office staff, which includes accounting, HR. We have people who answer the phones, and we have some project managers that run different kinds of projects for us, which is sort of like a specialty thing. Then we have, obviously, technicians in the fields, and then helpers that just, work with either plumbing, they work with HVAC. What we're always doing is we're looking at local schools to bring in maybe a co-op student, somebody who's recently graduated, kind of bring them on board and putting through the training process of basically just driving around with one of the technicians, one of the installers, somebody that's looking to do plumbing, right? They drive around one of the plumbing techs. HVAC, they drive around one of the HVAC techs. That becomes sort of our training process. On top of that, too, I guess our last piece is we have a couple sales guys that come out on the HVAC side of things, and they'll come to your house, lay out, a new system or replacement, and they're in the home selling, right? Coming to you and saying, hey, you need to replace this, or hey, I don't have any AC. How can I put it in my house? up here in New England, it's a little bit of a different market because it's boilers, it's heating, it's furnaces, it's ductwork, it's
All the
ductless,
things.
all kinds of things that some people out in the West Coast don't understand. So it's a big mix.
Yeah, but I like the idea of investing in these younger guys and paying them to more or less drive around, paying them to learn, because now you're at the point where, if I had to guess, these people are working their way through your organization and they're going from helpers to installers to technicians. And there's this career path that now you don't have to worry about as much. Everyone's supposed to worry about labor because there's less people wanting to work in the trades historically. But when you can build this pipeline and bring them in and they start with you, I would assume that works out pretty well. What is their kind of like journey look like through that process?
So, yeah, I love it. I think it's great. I love that they're bringing back the trades. I love that a lot of younger kids are getting into the trades nowadays. I'm starting to see it, and I kind of promote that even because people say, "Oh, these young kids, they don't want to do anything." I'm like, "Nah, I don't know. We've been fine. We've had some good luck with these kids that are in high school, and we've brought in people as I think as early as a junior year where they do co-op programs here. So the schools around here, it's structured where they'll go to school for a week and then they're in the field for a week. So it works out well, and it's usually from like January till the time school ends in June. And we find that works out pretty well. So they come in, they kind of, do what they can do, and they just learn. We kind of rotate them through different technicians so they're not just stuck with one person that smokes in the van and they don't like them. And, try to make sure that they see different sides of things. So if we get them that young, as they start off as a co-op, they do it junior year, and then they would do it senior year. We have hired, I think we're up to 5 co-ops. We've had 5 co-ops come through our program. We've hired all 5 of them, and let's see, I think 3 of them have stayed on. 2 of them picked different paths. Like both of them actually went into the military, which was great, and then one ended up becoming a firefighter. Just went down a different path. But that's kind of how that structure looks. We go to the job fairs that they have at the high schools. You go up, you set up your whole desk, you kind of talk to students. We try to pass out T-shirts, something, and just get some general interest in the company. But the overall path, we used to hire just a local driver, and the path can be driving the truck, dropping everything off, helping out on a couple jobs, becoming a full-time helper, getting away from the driver role, becoming a full-time helper where you're working in the field every day, and then going to getting a van, driving around, doing your own service calls. If the path is to become a licensed tech, then it's school, journeyman, full van. You're getting the full rate, and you having a nice career. It works out very well. And then you see these kids that you've known since they were 17, 18 years old that are now married, buying houses, and soon to be having children. I mean, it's a nice journey when you really get to see it.
Yeah, and I think the key takeaway for anybody listening is you're proactively doing these things. I feel like so many business owners are just waiting for someone to apply or waiting for someone to respond to the job post, but you're actively out there promoting, come work for us. And my belief is similar to yours. There's plenty of people that want to work. We just need to treat recruiting more like we treat marketing for customers. We need to market for employees all the time and make it a great place to work. So you're at 7.5 million. Where are you taking this thing? What's the next big steps for you and the Ask Them All team?
Sure. So the next big step is 10 million, right? We want to get to the 10 million mark, and it definitely, I feel like we've been floating around that 7.5 for maybe 2 years now. So now we're trying to make moves and decide, all right, how are we gonna grow this thing? Part of our struggle was we just moved. We were in Quincy for years, and we were in this building that we had, and we just totally outgrew it. We had multiple people in the same office, just a lot of stuff going on. They were just outgrew the space. So this year, about 9 months ago, we found a new building to move into, which is a warehouse, office space above it. And it's just people can actually stretch out and grow, right? We're not sharing offices anymore. We have a warehouse, so as we get jobs, we can kind of stock it up with the 5 or 6 jobs that we've got coming up in the next week or so, and we can stock a lot of plumbing stuff, stock a lot of HVAC stuff, and it's all sort of in the same location. So that was one of our hurdles that we had to overcome. When we're talking about it for years, is that we had to get out of the building we were in. So we did that this year. We're happy about it. We're very excited. Now we're just kind of moving pieces. Make sure they're in the right position, right? Put the right people on the right seat in the bus, and kind of just making sure that we're all moving forward now. So our goal for this year was just to get that building, which we did. Now everything else, in my opinion, I feel like we could throw away the year because of all this stuff that's been going on with tariffs and the economy. But that's another story. So we're on to 2026 at this point.
Awesome. Last question for you, Chris. Really appreciate it. This has been super helpful for me. I know super helpful for a lot of people out there listening as they continue on their journey. So I see a lot of people get stuck before they get to where you're at. They get stuck 3-4 million. They can't get over that $5 million hump. What do you tell? What's like 1 or 2 bits of advice that you would give somebody? You've already been there and done that, Chris. What would you tell somebody that's kind of stuck right there where they feel they just can't get over the hump?
As much as I hate to admit it, it's probably marketing, right? you gotta spend the money on it, and I'm hot and cold on it myself, because some days you just feel like you're throwing money out the window. But we ran a TV commercial when we were probably at like 3.5 to 4 million. And everyone kind of, anyone in marketing will tell you that you're nuts and why are you doing that? Why would you run TV? It's the worst thing in the world. It sort of featured my father on the commercial as a call Aspinwall. And we kind of made it up on the spot. We filmed it, and we threw it out there. He got noticed everywhere he went. Anywhere he went, people would come up to him and say, call Aspinwall. This little symbol right here, we have it on our trucks. We had it on the TV. I mean, I remember being at a Red Sox game one night with the jacket on, and the guy turned around to me and he pointed to me. He said, call Aspinwall. I love those commercials. That really got our name out there. It really got people at least the brand awareness of it, right? And it really got people to call us and get work. Now, the problem is I can't really monetize that because there was no way to really track it accurately. But that definitely gave us a pretty good boost. When we were small, we never really thought about advertising because the phone just always rang and people just always called. As it gets more competitive, or you're looking to grow a little bit more, you have to do a little bit more in order to make sure that phone keeps ringing. And so that was definitely a big step.
Yeah, and it's when you mention brand awareness, I feel many owners in the home service space, we think of marketing as we're just going to spend money and money's going to come back to us. If we put $100 in the machine, we're going to get $1,000 back. But when we really think about it, if they hear your name at that second and they don't need a plumber, then, they're not going to respond to that ad because they didn't have a pipe burst, or they don't need a sink installed, or their hot water tank isn't going out, or they don't have AC. But if we can stay top of mind, like your commercial clearly did, then when they do need a plumber or they do need HVAC, they're going to who do I think of first? Oh, it's Aspinwall, because I saw Lou on the TV 100 times and he told me to call Aspinwall. So that is really a great, nugget for a lot of people out there that get frustrated with marketing. Similar to what you said, you can't measure it, but the more brand awareness we can do, the more likely we're taking up space in other people's heads that when they do need our services, that's who they're going to call. So very awesome conversation. Chris Mazzini, thanks again for coming on the show, sharing your journey and providing a ton of wisdom, actionable advice, all the things that you shared with us on your journey to where you are. Can't wait to see you hit that $10 million mark and above. Helping all the blue collar business owners out there as we continue on this journey to prosperity. Before we sign off, if our listeners want to reach out to you just to say hello, say thank you, where can they go to keep in touch with you?
They can come to our website, which is just aspinwallplumbing.com. They can call us on the phone if they have any questions, 617-472-8265. We have an email, info at aspinwallplumbing.com. Feel free to send an email. You can follow us on Instagram. I don't know if you can DM me. Not sure even what that means, but you can do that if you want. So, feel free to reach out. I mean, I'm always looking to help because I always do the same thing. I'm always reaching out to people and asking them questions and all kinds of stuff. So it's kind of a nice way to just to help make you feel better, even just so you know whether you're doing something right or somebody say, hey, you know what? I tried that. I totally did that wrong. Just nice to get some advice every now and again.
Yeah, no, and I think that's one of the best parts about the home service space, blue collar trades, is if you reach out to somebody that's 2 or 3 steps ahead of you, they are 90%, maybe 99%. They're very highly likely to help you because they know they've been there before and they want to help you. So if you're grinding, you're struggling, and you need to get to where Chris is, reach out to him. He'd be happy to help. Chris, thank you again for coming to the show. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you, Paul.
And before we go, as you know, there are a lot of moving parts when it comes to creating consistent positive cash flow. However, the journey starts with making sure you are priced right so you can have a growing and more profitable business. I have created a super easy to use pricing calculator for everyone in the trades. You will no longer have to guess what you should charge. You'll no longer have to call around your competition and see what they charge. This calculator is easy to use and will provide you confidence and clarity that you're actually priced right. It also comes with a step-by-step PDF guide and a video walkthrough. So head on over to thebluecollaradvisors.com/price. thebluecollaradvisors.com/price to download it today, and so you can start implementing it tomorrow. Until next time, remember, what got you here won't get you there. If you are ready for different results, it's time to start doing things differently.